And we are live, yes. Welcome to Blender today. Today is the first day after the Code Quest has ended. Yes, there is life after the Code Quest. There is life and there is a new Blender. This is the same Blender. Actually, somebody was asking like, yeah, what is this alpha release thingy? What's different from Blender 2.8, the daily builds? Well, absolutely nothing. Of course, it gets better by the day, but this alpha release is more of a way to formalize the the development. That is like, okay, let's close the Code Quest and let's be open for crash reports, not bug reports, but crash reports. The things that are actually showstoppers on using Blender right now. There is still a lot to be done, but it's promising actually. I'm pretty happy with the development so far. I'm pretty happy that we are actually in this stage where after adding all of these features, having this monster that is Blender 2.8, that some people were suggesting that it could be a 3.0, but Blender is still lacking in many areas. There is the particle system, the physics system, everything nodes is missing. There should be a new animation system, and all of this is pointing towards a new Blender release, 2.9 for developing all this stuff, but even 3.0, who knows? After Blender has all of that, I think it really deserves the 3.0, like everything nodes and a new physics system, particles, everything. So yeah, Blender 2.8 could have been 3.0, but imagine how good 3.0 is gonna be now that not even 2.8 is out yet, just the alpha release. So what does it mean? Where do you get it? Well, you get it in the builder.blender.org, in the same place as always, the same place where you can get the experimental builds until now. So the way it works is just get it, and you will see a new little thing in there that I can show you. Why Pablo sounds like he did poverty? Yes, I had a tough weekend, so my voice is a bit weird, but I was just try to flush it with some beer, just celebrating 2.8. So everything is okay. Please give it a thumbs up on the chat in Blender. I'm watching the chat on YouTube, but we're also streaming on Twitch, so just to see that everything is fine, that the streaming is working. But now let's get down to business. So what is the business? It's Blender 2.8. So the Code Quest is over. All the developers went home. The main chunk of Blender 2.8 is done. There were a few fixes that were done like now. Oh, thank you, Nicolas. Thank you, everyone, for the thumbs up. But especially like the main thing was a color change that happened recently. Flatty Dark Blueberry was introduced a week ago, maybe it feels like a long time ago. Maybe I think it's just a week ago that the interface, well, the way to change the theme changed. So there was development done, lots of hands up. The way the development happened is that now we can transform a regular theme into a new into a built-in theme in Blender that you can reset to default. That's something that Campbell did. So just to test it, we tried with Flatty Dark Blueberry, and in today we made a few changes to be the theme to be Flatty Dark. So if you follow the live streams, Flatty Light is the theme that I've been developing for a while. It's been I think it's part of 2.7, even 2.79, and a lot of people have that they like it. So the dark version is now going to be the default in Blender 2.8, and we're testing it first with some like the most basic Flatty Light to dark. Thanks to Campbell for these changes, and we're gonna keep polishing. There are still some things to do. So, okay, how does Blender 2.8 look like? Well, as you know, this is Blender today, and as always, I just go to the source. I'm here, I'm in the source. I just git pull just to make sure that, bam, I have the latest and greatest Blender. So let's see how Blender looks like now. Oh, I have a shortcut for that. Speaking of shortcut, we have to talk about shortcuts. All right, ladies and gentlemen, dames and heren for the Dutch. This is Blender 2.8. This is Blender 2.8 Alpha. So yes, it's dark. Yes, it has a little alpha here. That's how you can tell that it's in the alpha version. There will be a beta coming out in August. But the most important thing is now people can actually contribute, report crashes. So what is a crash? Crash is when you do something in Blender, clack, 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 and it crashes. It happens often in the live streams, and it can happen because many things inside of Blender, like the heart of Blender, which is the dependency graph, is completely rewritten in Blender 2.8. So there are many things that still need to be tackled case by case. So if you find if you find a crash, like if you're doing something, like you press a button and Blender closes, and then you open Blender again, and then it closes again. When you repeat that action, then it means that you have a nice reproducible crash. So go to the backtracker. You can find it. It's in the code blog. You can read the last post by the live Felinto before he left back to Brazil. Congrats, by the way, they won today. There is the backtracker link right here. It's in developer.blender.org, or you can just access from the menu in help within Blender. So help and report a bug. It's going to open the browser, and you can just fill in all the information here. So the most important thing is what are the steps that that take you to that crash, and also what if it's like a OpenGL problem that it crashes or for some reason, then you should also report that, like giving information of your OpenGL version of your system. To get the your system information, you can go to help, save system info, and this will export a text file with all the information of your computer, or all the information that is relevant for the developers. There is no privacy problem. There is just hardware, like what OpenGL version, what the graphics card, and all this stuff. It's all for the greater good. So I will. I see many questions coming in. Those I will answer in the second part of this live stream. First, I want to share what are the changes. Oh, thank you for being here. I think I have the alerts on. I'm gonna remove it. Okay, and yeah, let's see what's new. So download Blender 2.8 Alpha. Then I think if you download it right now and it doesn't have the alpha toggle, just wait a little bit. Tonight it's going to be updated, but it's the same version. Really not much has changed. Today actually there were a few changes in the headers. I spent most of my afternoon today unifying the headers. So what does it mean by unifying the headers? Well, that if today, I have here, and I have, so this is how the headers look today. This image is by Clément Foucault. He made this nice arrangement with all the headers just to see the inconsistencies. And there were quite a lot. We already did a pass on it, but we needed to do another pass. So like some menus were expanded, some were collapsed, some had the filter popover on the left, which is super weird because we usually have menus on the left, or sub modes like edit mode and then the other sub modes. And then on the side also there was a few things that were a bit all over the place. So what we did is we went through it with Clément, with Campbell, with Willem, and now this is how it looks at the moment. It's a lot more organized, I think. It has everything in the same place. So the copy paste are always on the same side. The snapping is always next to the proportional editing, no matter if you're in which editor you are. There is always expanded the sub mode. For example, if you're in texture, let's make the UI a bit bigger, quite bigger. So let's say I have here the texture editor. Now, well, by default is in none. Doesn't mean to fix that. Okay, but there is now the world, brush, and light style. They're all like expanded, so you know what you're working on. Compositing doesn't have it, but yeah, there were quite a few changes all over the place. One change that you might notice immediately is that the shading and overlay settings are now in the center of the 3D viewport. So it's more accessible because now that we will move all the snapping and everything to the right side on every editor, then it makes sense that also is in the viewport. But also because you are working, usually whatever you're working on is here in the center of, let's open a more interesting blend file, like always, abusing the nice artists that contribute. So the, yeah, when you work on, I need to flip this to the top. When you work with something, you usually have it here in the header, in the center. So it makes sense that whatever you're setting is here in the center as well. So yeah, that's a bit more consistency, but there you will see it all over the place. What else can I show you? Quickly, some UI changes. You can collapse the status bar. You can just drag on the side and then it will, it's not the most discoverable thing ever. It's not like so obvious, but you can collapse it just from here, grabbing it from the side and then put it down. And then if you want to go put it up, then you just need to, I have another window here in the back. That's why it's confusing here. And then you can just grab up. This ideally is going to have like an entry in the menu where you can just view, like in the maybe the window toggle status bar, so you can quickly access it. But for those that are not a big fan of the status bar, you can hide it. And if you're a fan of the status bar, then it just got better because we got new icons that are now a bit more, when you click and translate, for example, the click and drag, it already shows, it also shows which button is it, which before it didn't, before it just showed the drag. Also the icons are not as bright anymore, they're the same color as text, so they're a bit more out of the way. There's changes all over the place. I'm just trying, I just don't want to miss all the big things, so I made a little list here. We'll go through the questions in a bit, but all right, I talked about the default theme, I talked about the status bar hiding, the header consistency. I'm gonna talk about one more thing, the quick menu updates, and then we're gonna go into the other topic, which is a bit more controversial. So the quick menu, this thing that blows people's minds, including mine, and it just keeps getting better. We still don't have like a dedicated editor for like arranging the things and everything, but it just got much better because in the video that I did, I said that at some point in the future, we will have the possibility to add toggles, like checkboxes to the quick menu. So you can add anything. And it just happened. Campbell just made it happen sooner than expected. So for example, say you toggle double-sided all the time. You can just right-click, add to favorites menu, and now not only it works here on the properties panel, but it also works in the 3D view. So all the settings in the properties panel are now shared with the 3D viewport. So if in the 3D viewport, for example, you want to add like specular highlights and the double-sided, which are two different things, you can turn it on and off. And if I had a monkey, that would be much better. So specular highlights. So you can quickly turn on and off settings that are completely unrelated. So let's add a modifier from here. So I don't have to do it like last, I don't know if I showed it here or in one of the developer videos, but I showed a trick of how to search for modifiers and then add it there. But now you can actually just toggle it from the 3D view. So it's fantastic. So many good things happening, right? And the cool thing is that all these settings are shared. So for example, the double-sided option is per mesh. So I can have a mesh with double-sided and a mesh without. And the setting in the menu still depends on the context in the active object. So if I change it from the menu, it works for this object. And if I change it from the menu here, it works for this object. So now their settings are independent, but I use the same entry menu, which is super nice. What about menus? Yes, you can have menus. So for example, say you add meshes all the time, or other kind, like you use mirror all the time, or no, let's go for example to the edge data. So for example, this edge data, you access it all the time, so you can just this one in particular not. Hey, okay, Campbell, I didn't test this through, but this one works. Okay, I need to double check that, but it works basically. It's just transform, and you can change it from here. It's added to the list, so that should be, yeah, it works in most cases. Another thing to report. But this is not the kind of things that you report on the new bug tracker, on the 2.8 bug tracker. You report crashes. The open for regular bugs is going to happen later at the beta stage, but for now it's all about crashes, showstoppers, things that you're using Blender and boom, crashes, and you can reproduce it. Then you can submit it for fixing it. Why is this? Well, because you have to first have Blender working, right? If it crashes all the time, then you can't use it. But it's more important to fix a crashing Blender than to add the remaining little things here and there. All right, so quick menu, updates, default theme, status bar. I mentioned it all so far. If I'm missing anything, just just poke me. But the big thing that you're gonna find out now is that if you open Blender by default, in the splash screen, you have the interaction modes, which is just a way to interact. It's a keymap that gets loaded on Blender by default when you run it. And in these settings, you will find Blender 2.7x. So what is this? This is Blender 2.7 keymap. So if you turn it on, save your reset settings, then you can do the same as in 2.7. You can access the same shortcuts, Ctrl+U, you can do Ctrl+Shift+C, like these crazy things to break your fingers, you can do it now. But you didn't change that, and if you just load Blender, you will find out, like load factory settings. Gonna make this a bit bigger. So yes, you know, I wanted to do the UI bigger, and what did I press? I pressed Ctrl+U because I'm so used to it. But Blender 2.8 comes with a minimal keymap. What is a minimal keymap? Is a reduced version of the Blender keymap. Still keeps the essentials, like you can still press G to move, R, S, Tab to edit mode, Ctrl+R for loop select. There are many things that are still there. The ones that actually like make more sense. For example, these the keys that are repeated, they got removed. So what is the goal of this? Is to give more room is to give more room for activities. You know, when you clean your room and suddenly you find new places where you can put trash on, put like leave clothes hanging and stuff, but after a while you have to clean it again. Well, it is something like that. Blender has been adding keys for everything and anything, even things that were not even used. Today I went with Campbell through some of the keys that were removed, and I found so many things that I didn't even know. Blender 2.7 has for example, I didn't know, for example, that it has a key that is Alt-F, which zooms the view in where your mouse is. So if you hit in Blender 2.7 Alt F, like it moves the mouse there. It's like the same as doing Control Control Shift B. Now I'm forgetting. Shift B for like zoom. Well, that same concept is, but without the zoom, it's done with Alt F in Blender 2.7. So I didn't even know about that thing. And there are other things that that were changed. For example, let's make this here. Let's go here and there. So the for example, this shortcut also, I learned it I just now, is that you can do Shift Enter, like the pad Enter, the one on the numpad, and it will put the camera one-to-one with the viewport. Like all these really hidden things were added to keymaps. So it makes it a bit confusing when you can't remember all these shortcuts, and it's really taking room from what the add-on developers can do, or what you can do also. You can make your own keymap, and that's an approach that many other applications take, where the initial keymap is much more simple, and then you just make it easy to add your own. So that's the goal of Blender 2.8, is to give more personalization. So what has changed? Well, you will find that many of the keys are not there. The most necessary ones are there. The ones that were duplicated were removed. So this morning, for example, deletion was only possible with delete, where you press delete and like delete in the keyboard, then it will delete. But after discussion, yeah, having to release the mouse and go to the middle, like somewhere in the keyboard, to find the delete, it's cumbersome, because the workflow with two hands should be encouraged, right? You should never try to leave the mouse. So it's the X key, like the good old X key, is back. So that was added today after discussion. And many keys like this will come back, I'm sure, because every day you find more like, okay, yeah, it really makes sense, but it's just mainly for the things that make sense, for the menus that are more used for workflow. So another thing, for example, is that the user preferences were it was attached to Control-Alt-U, which really didn't make much sense. It's just U because it started with user preferences, but it really didn't make any sense. If you're using a Mac, there was a Mac specific keymap that was the regular, I think it's function comma or something like that, for bringing the preferences. But in Windows and on Linux, there is no standard for opening it. It's on this Control P or some similar shortcut, but Blender had its own. So instead of fighting with that, the idea is to leave all the keys, like all the letters in the keyboard, for workflow. That it should be only workflow. Of course, you can still open a file with Control O, and that's the way of opening it now. And it's not gonna be F1, because that's you can always change it. Because you remember, you can always change it. But by default, no, because it means you have two keys for doing the same task. Can be confusing. And in general, F1 is used for help. So the idea is to push the this setup, having the help more reliable. That you can also do just right click and online manual anywhere, and you will get to the closest part of the manual that is related to that. If there are missing parts, we're gonna add them one by one. But for example, if you're using a modifier, so say for example simple deform, then you can now press the shortcut to go to the manual from there. So the most typical shortcut for help is F1. It's pretty standard. So that also works in wherever your mouse is. So if I put the mouse here over anywhere in the simple deform modifier and I press F1, and I press F1, there you go. I'd open it in a different window, sorry, here. It opens the manual, so it's much more interactive in a way. So it's that's the idea, that whatever you are in Blender, you can press F1 and it will take you to the part of the manual that is that makes sense within that area. So yes, still lots of work to do, but it's all for the better. What else? I don't want to miss any. Okay, well, the user preferences. So where are the user preferences? Well, you can access it from the edit menu. From edit, you can go to user preferences, or you can also make use of the exception to the F keys. The F keys, all 12 numbers, were used for different things, sometimes to open editor, sometimes to execute actions. So F12 is render, that hasn't changed. F11 is to open the last render, that also hasn't changed. But from F5 to F10, all those keys are free. So now you can attach them to anything you want. You can change it, you can assign it to every part of Blender that you need. If you can do like workspaces or settings or custom menus, because Blender now supports custom menus, like the same we have in the Q key. Well, the system is there to allow custom menus, so you can have your own. Or add-ons also could use it, or like there are so many uses that it could take these F keys. The F1 to F4 are reserved. You can also change it, of course, but the F1 is for help. We already seen this one. The F2 is a file context. So in Blender 2.7, F2 was for saving, and for Shift F2 for linking, I think, or appending. No, that was a different one. So anyway, now it actually is a context menu, because it's not that you do it all the time, and I always forget which one was link and which one was append, or you can change it from the setting. It was confusing. So now it brings this little menu where you can link, append, import, or export. So it's more about the workflow itself. So F2, and then you can link, append, or bring or export stuff with the shortcut. Then F3 is search again. The F3 is pretty popular for searching in anywhere. So if you're anywhere, you can press F3, for example. In this case, no, this is a special browser. But if you're in a browser and you press F3, usually you can start searching, and that's pretty common in other software. So now Blender has F3 for search. And it's also in the tilde, but that some keyboards don't have it. So we still need to discuss that if it makes sense to have it always in the in that keyboard or no, in that key or not. And F4 is where you can access all the window related stuff. So one of them is a user pref. So you can do F4 and then the fifth element on the list. So you can do F4, 5, and then it will open the user prefs. So you still have it there, and it's a bit more, it's easier to remember, because you don't remember F4 and then you can do all the other things. So in Blender 2.7, to make a new window, it will be like Alt W, I think, like, or Shift Alt, Control Alt. I opened the same. I need to open this guy. So it was Control Alt W to make a new window. Like, who is gonna remember that? I did, but you're not supposed to. You could use your memory for other things, like learning your favorite song or learning new shortcuts that you put yourself, that you assign yourself. So the F4 is gonna let you make a new window, duplicate, and two new things that will let you the same shortcuts that you have on the side to split or join. Well, the split now has the options for horizontal split or vertical split. So that's something that not a lot of people knew, that you can actually, instead of trying to find the little spot on the corner and then fail when going one way or the other, you can just right click on the side on this border of the editors, and then you can split or join. But the thing is, the split command would have the direction of whatever you are pointing. And you can press tab to switch, but in or middle click, yes. But I think it's much more clear if you assign you have all the settings for window in there. You can already split vertically or horizontally. So with this, I'm gonna start reading the comments and all the love of the people that are used to their shortcuts, and now they don't have them anymore. But don't worry, there is always a chance to change it to 2.7, save your settings, and you're good. I will be checking in the Blender 2.7 Keymap. I think I will be, if it breaks, I will try my best to fix it, and all other developers, I can get help from them. It's no worries. So it's not gonna be super old and unmaintained, don't worry. Let's read some comments. Gonna get rid of this so I have a nice big, there you go. And I will go all the way to where I started, and I will start to read the comments. Okay, this is as far as I can scroll, and let's get ready. So can we open OpenVDV in Blender? There's a branch, I think. Yeah, should look it up. There's also some development happening in some studios that are gonna be contributed, I heard, pretty soon. So hopefully, yes. Thank you for the nice comments. Will any or all of the Summer of Code projects be merged to 2.8 at some point? What branches will be merged? Well, the branches that are around, you can find them in blender.org, in here in the Google Summer of Code. This will take you to the page where you can see all the projects, and if they are in or not for 2.8, I doubt it, unless they're like really atomic. 2.8, I mean 2.8T, like 2.80, the first release. The next release, I don't think it should take too long, because there will be a lot of 2.8 is a big change, so I bet there will be a lot of fixes and yeah, things to fix. Remember that in Blender 2.7 series, it didn't take that long for a big release to happen. It was some months, 4-6 months max, so it's not so long. And the fact that Blender has changed so much, it means that some of the add-ons has to be some of the Google Summer of Code projects have to be working with the latest code, and if they could break Blender too much, then they will be postponed to the next version. Does learning to the animation node help prepare for the everything node? Yeah, learning anything will help you with anything in life. No, but besides that, learning animation nodes will get you familiar with all the nodes stuff. And the animation nodes is a monster. It's huge. It has so many nodes that if you're familiar with them, you will be familiar with anything that is related to that, like motion, physics, and all the kind of stuff. Not physics, but more like animation with nodes. So yes, learn it. Don't wait. Will there be parallax map supported like any other real model engine? Please consider directly convert cycles replacement map to parallax map when switching to Eevee. I'm not sure about that, and we should ask Clément about that, the developer of Eevee. Have you considered adding a built-in tutorial, like within Blender itself? Blender should stay as light as possible. You don't want to download gigabytes of Blender no, we're not that kind. Maybe there could be like a Blender Plus tutorials, the Blender Plus assets that could be a bit heavier, a bit bigger, but I think everything should come from the cloud, like from internet, not from the Blender cloud. Maybe some assets could come from the cloud as for free, so it could help promote the cloud, so Blender also gets it benefits, but it should be as light as possible. Maybe a nice way to download all the tutorials, maybe that could be a good way. There is the Blender fundamentals in the Blender YouTube channel that is back, and there is a 46 videos of Blender fundamentals, things that are Blender basics for learning Blender. So that will be updated to Blender 2.8, and maybe that could be a nice package to download, so people that don't have fast internet can download it once and use it and follow it. Any news on MantaFlow integration? No, I don't have any news, sorry. But maybe I'm missing something. So if somebody knows, please leave a comment. Will we have a cool sub painter like texture editor incorporated inside of Blender? Not for now. We have vector displacement right now, but no way to bake it. Will it be? I'm sorry, I don't have news about that. Then, any news on interaction mode? No, it's been just like the call quest ended last week. It's a bit too early. There will be the idea is to start in around July, but more like towards the end of July. Dalai Felinto will be involved in it, and he's now back in Brazil. Is taking some time off because the call quest has been quite a work for many of us. So. And it's a World Cup, and in Brazil is winning. So yes, but Benoit is also working on it. So should we start around this month, July? The microphone sounds a bit saturated. Is it, or is it my voice? Maybe I can lower it a little bit. Okay, maybe. All right, okay, just lower it a little bit. Did you speak with Algorithmic? Or maybe I'm speaking louder because my voice is down. Did you speak with Algorithmic for importing substance files? No, but they don't have to speak anything actually. They can just Blender, they could just look at the code and make an add-on or something for importing from the Blender side. Maybe for exporting, but for importing it should be fine. Like you should be able to do it. But yes, that's something I need to say, that it's here in the list. You should read this, because an important thing is that if you're an add-on developer, do not start migrating your add-on right now, because you're gonna lose some time, because the API, the Python API, the thing that all the add-ons are built based on, will change, will be updated, will be a bit more consistent. There will be many things that will work differently. So there will be a call for developers to update their add-ons, but you should wait for that call. Should happen. The release candidate is expected around October, maybe for the Blender conference. A release candidate, remember, release candidate is the build that gets released more kind of officially, but it's not an official, like it's not the stable release. It's it gets promoted a lot for people to report bugs, but that won't happen until October. So before that, there will be a call for add-on developers to update all of their add-ons, and at least a month before, at least, just to give time to update the add-ons. Of course, you can do it now, but the thing is that maybe some things will change and you will spend twice the time instead of just waiting and reading the documentation, what changed and what not. Is it possible to return to the official build the possibility of changing numeric values via control wheel? Well, you can change that. I think it was broken for like a few weeks, but control up and down changes, and it also works on either side. It was broken. I think it was broken for like a few weeks when the fancy widgets was introduced, but it should be fine now. I don't know if you noticed, but they now, instead of having a triangle, now it has a little chevron just to point which direction, and it is also showing in the overlays and the drop-down menus. Is there now mesh like in Eevee? No, not yet. Will Eevee support? Hey, it's asking too many questions, the same views. I'll leave something to your fellow Blender heads. Will Eevee support multi-GPU? I heard a discussion the other day about that. It was pretty fun. but it's basically it doesn't support it at the moment. But the like SLI, you mean? I don't think for the time being there will be any work on that. It's kind of problematic, yes. Is there a limit? There is technology limitations in there, basically how things get drawn with multi GPUs. Is there a limit of polygon when running Eevee? As long as your computer can handle. And I'm answering the questions with the Blender today, Orange, so that way we can go through them faster. And it's just to make it easier to spot. What will be the plan for animation in Blender 2.9 or 30? Well, there's no, it's just a tease basically about animation 2020, but there will be news soon. It's related to everything nodes and new rigging and stuff, but there will be an announcement soon. I don't want to give false information and then having to, hey, no, sorry, I didn't remember exactly how it was. We want Grease Pencil. Yes, Grease Pencil is coming, and actually the annotation system is also it's almost done, which is the part that was stopping Blender from getting Grease Pencil. The Grease Pencil branch merged. So what is the annotation system? Well, Blender, the Grease Pencil, it's used until now for many things. One of them was, for example, that you can make, if you are in the 3D view, yes, you can do all kinds of crazy animations with Grease Pencil, but also if you were, for example, in the sequencer, you can, you also had Grease Pencil. Well, I don't have a, here, let's go. You can also draw, for example, in the sequencer, but this is more for like annotations when you're actually making an animation and you just want to change making notes, for example. So Grease Pencil now is a full-fledged 2D animation pipeline in Blender. It's a new type of object. You can add a new object type Grease Pencil and do all kind of crazy things, add modifiers, add 2D effects, add all kinds of stuff. So the annotation tool was a bit overkill to have, just want to have some notes and have a whole object with materials, layers, palettes, all kinds of stuff. So the Grease Pencil system has been decoupled in two. One of them is the 2D animation tool, the one that we can have everything. And the other one is a more simple note taking, basically, little app. It is not an app, it's just it's inside of Blender. It's a panel where you can make a new note, make the lines, change the color, make even like lines, arrows, and all the things that you would expect, and maybe in the future maybe even text, so you can add text to it. So it's more for annotations, and then the other system is for a full-on 2D pipeline that you can mix with 3D because it's in the ViewPort using Eevee. So it should, well, we're gonna see it soon, very soon. Is there any VR support in Blender 2.8? Not at the moment. Will there be a hair shader for Eevee? Yes, it's coming. It's coming. Any news about trying to abolish the VRAM limit when rendering with GPU? On the wiki side, sometimes VRAM limit will be over. Yes, that's the idea, that VRAM will be over and it could be used like some of the system RAM, but there's no development on that yet. How much will cost what? Blender 2.8? Only here. If you go to blender.org/donate, then development fund, you can choose how much you want Blender to cost for you. You can just pay $5. No, me kidding. Blender is free and it will always be free. But if you join the development fund, you're contributing to the development of Blender. This money goes directly to developers. You can see here who's taking and how long is working, and yeah, on what is it working on. So it's a you can see it, for example, here, Campbell Barton, well, he made half of Blender. Bastian is also all over the place. Dalai Felinto, he was manager of the Blender 2.8, coordinator of Blender 2.8 project, and now is a working on the real-time viewport, which is the interactive mode. So yeah, the money is well spent. If you join the development, soon there will be more news about more updates. There is it's not announced yet, but the development fund is gonna be it's gonna get revamped soon. But it's the same system, so yes, you can all contribute. What about Blender 2.8 and 2.9? Jeez, they're still learning 2.8. I think judging from the past that 2.9 is gonna be only stabilizing Blender from the what 2.8 is, making it more feature complete and more more ready for what Blender for the Animation 2020 project for 2020. Blender 2.9 will probably also have a lot of fixes and new things from the next code quest, and yes, there will be quite some things, and yeah, you can expect a lot. Is it safe to save blend files work in Blender 2.8 between versions? No, it's not safe. You can try it, but you shouldn't do it. If you use 2.8, use 2.8. Don't go back to 2.7 and then to 2.8. Don't. If you use 2.8 now, you can continue using 2.8, maybe updating, but don't go back in time because you're gonna break things. Just go forward in time. That's fine. Shout out from New York City. It's expected in the future the multi-user function to make Blender a tool to create and interact with virtual worlds like Second Life or Minecraft. For something like Ready Player One. Haven't seen the movie yet or read the book. Sorry. But multi-user function, that was an experiment like more than a decade ago. But it's so much work, and it depends on the lag that you have on. I am not sure it's really safe to work with that way, but it would be a nice experiment. Do you guys plan to make publicity for Blender 2.8? A simple YouTube targeting ad with a cool trailer could massively import a lot of new users. Blender has a budget for advertisement, but actually like a free advertisement on the Google platform. It's it can put, like, if you Google Blender on Google.com, there will be you will find some advertisements. So maybe sometimes you already did it and you find maybe this. Well, it looks pretty good. The ad is not even active yet, but there are Blender 3D. No, not even. Maybe it's not active yet, but there are some ads that we're testing that, thanks to we're not using development money for this. It's a gift, so it's gonna help promote Blender more, but I think YouTube is just too expensive for that. And I think the best way to promote in YouTube is this way, making more feature videos, making more Blender development little videos for features, and I think that's the best way. No advertisement, but we're gonna make tons of PR. We're not gonna spend a penny on advertisement because it's just money that could be better spent in development, actually, like making Blender better so it promotes itself, and users like Daniel Bysted making awesome demos. That's the best way to promote Blender. And Blender's best asset is the community. So yes, when will the asset manager be implemented? Still not there. Still, it's gonna be developed now. Today, Bastian left back to his place, and he's gonna be working on that in the coming months. Are the static overrides working? I've been trying to use them and get crashes every single time. That's what happens. It's work in progress, and the crashes are being solved because the people at the Blender Institute, Blender Animation Studio, the team working on Spring is using them. So yes, it's being tested every day. Will there be shadows for emission objects in Eevee? I didn't even hear about that, but it's a hard thing to do. I can ask Clement, but stuff. When will we get the UI unwrapping algorithm from the Blender Conference Doc 2016? Well, if it was there, just a matter of getting the developer to join. Hey, developer, if you develop that awesome UI unwrapping, why are you waiting? 2.8 is the best time to add it. So join. Will it be possible to make a pop-up dialogues on top of the 3D view have less opaque appearance with a caution blurred background? I guess with the newer OpenGL version, but it's fancy for the sake of fancy. I mean, it improves, you can read better what is behind, but it's I mean, Blender is OpenGL basically, all the interface, so it could be possible, but maybe it's a bit too fancy, and you better want to spend that fanciness in more polygons and more faster viewport. This I answered. Will you be pushing the 2.8 branch to Steam under a development branch? I think we should do that for the beta release. I think alpha is a bit too early for communicating that it's only crashes and all of that. But for maybe we can do it for the 2.8, the beta release. This is uploading software to Steam. If you have experience or a game that uploading things to Steam, it's not the easiest walk in the park. It takes some time, so it has to be done properly. Is a new grease pencil included in the alpha? No. Will it be possible to change as a user the dependency graph, like for example through nodes? Sorry if you answer this question. As a user, the dependency graph, no. Change the dependency graph? No, I don't think so. It's a tough question. It's a new animated grease pencil in 2.8 alpha? No. Yes, many light samples is one of the Summer of Code projects. I'm also interested in it because it's gonna speed up cycles, and there will be speed ups in cycles coming. Is it a way to turn off the mode selector pie menu? Yeah, you just need to turn off the, if I open Blender, pie menus is a add-on. So if you go to pie, if you disable the pie menu, hey, it's not even here. Maybe there's no, okay, I will double check that and I will answer to you, because right now it's enabled. Maybe it could be a way to disable it. Maybe from the user pref input pie. Yeah, just disable the pie menu, and instead of calling the call menu pie, you can just make it call the object mode set, which is Python tooltips. You just look up the number, the name of that menu, so you can trigger it here from the input settings. Continue with the questions. I'm only answering the ones from 45 minutes ago. Are there any plans for quick isolate one object like all isolate view? Yeah, there is. But for the time being, you can do Shift H to hide everything by that object. So that is the same, Shift H, and then Alt H to unhide. And remember, this will only change the visibility for the active object. So here, if I do Shift H, it's only changing the visibility for the viewports for this view layer. So if you do Alt H, it unhides everything. But if there's something that you don't really want to see in the viewport, you can just hide it permanently. So now when you hide everything or unhide, this doesn't get affected by the viewport. This is something that in 2.7 was very annoying, when you had a few objects hidden and the rest didn't, and you wanted to unhide only those objects, but the shortcut will hide everything. When will we see the new icons around all of Blender? If they get finished before the 2.8 beta or before the release candidate, yes, there will be. Is 2.8 going to get flip fluids? Is the add-on available already? Wasn't it for beta? I don't know. But if it is, it could be. I mean, all Blender add-ons are GPL. They're the same license as Blender, so it could be. There's no reason not to. What's the workaround for Blender crashing when you click on a shader tab on assign a material? That crash is gone. So I'm here in the shader. It's create new, add a new one. Yeah, it's working. So it was broken a few weeks ago, but it's now working. I think the crash happened because of the preview, this preview that now is fixed. I think the live fixed it. So you can, I think the workaround if you're using an older 2.8 is just to hide the preview panel. Can you explain what the new face map is? Yes, I can explain it. It's going to take a bit longer and I should go through more questions, but basically face map is a way to assign the face to a shape key, for example, and control the shape key. Or yeah, basically assigned face maps with like a part of a mesh to a shape key or a bone. And that way you can animate without like hiding the armature and just selecting directly on the mesh. But the add-on, this is an add-on for the time being. If you do face maps, you will find auto face map widgets, which is a, maybe you can try it already in 2.7 because that's where the add-ons are all working. Here the add-ons are still a no, maybe on master. They're still all kind of broken, but basically you just go make a face map and assign you have to match the name with the shape key and the bone, or you just I think there is videos around, but I cannot continue with the questions. Are background images back or will be only on August? No, they're back as in the empty images, but that's it. And also you can add it from the camera view, but the regular one for the views is not planned to be implemented yet. Will it be possible to hide select active object origin? You can hide it from like object origins from the overlays. You can enable all the object origins, and I think the other one is not possible at the moment. But it's a way to select your active, like to know where your active object is, and it's only showing for the active object anyway. But if it's too distracting, maybe it could be an option. The thing is that it's hard to tell, and you want to know where the center of your object is, because if you have like the center here and then your rotation is weird, then you need to know why. Communicate that. Can I set up hotkeys for the overlay and shading widgets to pop up instead of clicking? Yes, you should be possible to assign it. It's not here, but if you can assign also different checkboxes. It's already 1 hour that I'm talking, and I should be closing this live stream because I can't talk anymore. And I will continue. Okay, 5 more questions. It will be possible to adjust the color of the node editor grid in 2.8 or turn it off like in the viewport. The color, well, no, I think the color is based on the background color for the node editor. So here, and then if we go to the user prefs, I think the color is based on the previous color on the window background. Yeah, wires, no background wire color. Yeah, it's all based in the backdrop. But I've been considering actually that is it better without? It's good to see the grid. Let me know, leave a comment after the video ends. You can leave a comment that will stay permanent and people can vote on that. I'm just really curious to see. I've never been bothered by the background, but maybe some people are. It will be possible to, I already answered that. Okay, 4 more questions. MantaFlow, I already answered that before, so 4 questions more. with Pi menus now being default, are there plans to allow for easy customization without accessing code or buying an add-on? Easy customization for the, well, the thing is that we don't want to put Pi menus all over the place, because in most places, yeah, in some places they help a lot, but in some places they can be a bit confusing, especially when you have too many options. But yeah, maybe having a Pi menu editor built in Blender would be the solution. And yeah, well, yeah, there is an add-on that you can buy, but you can, if somebody has it, you can also get it. It's GPL. Will we get GP, Grease Pencil, Everything Node, and text editing tool? Okay, those are three completely different things. Grease Pencil is gonna come very soon. Everything Node is like just starting, like not even started yet, so it will take much longer. And the text editing tool is not something I knew that was being worked on for time being. Can you explain how the ruler works? You just click on it, and now you can read on the bottom how to set it up. So you can, actually I'm gonna make this a bit bigger. So you can read at the bottom in the really helpful status bar what to do when you have the active tool, the ruler as the active tool. So click and drag with the left mouse, you can add a ruler. Then you can click on it to left click on it to move it around. You can also snap it to parts of the mesh. And yeah, basically just follow the status bar, the very useful status bar. You can keep adding more, of course, but yeah, it's very useful. Face maps, I already went through it. Could the favorite menu be made a floating panel? Favorites menu, like this one. Yeah, it could be, I don't know if floating panel, but maybe it could be a panel in the end or in the tool when there's nothing active, maybe. It's basically, it could be a panel, basically, yeah. It's not too hard to do it. The thing is where. 2 more questions. Will we have options for the specular in the workbench? Change the roughness. Yeah, you can change the roughness, of course. It's you had a little monkey. Control 3 still works. Nice. For adding subdivision level 3. So yes, you can. It's a property per material. So here you can set in the material viewport setting, viewport display, you can set the roughness, the color, and the same as the diffuse color. So yes, you can. It's a per material setting. Yeah. Are the quick menus per file or global? Can I append? They are global. They're saved as your user preferences. So whatever, when you add things to it, when you add like to their favorite menus, you need to save your user preferences for it to be permanent. But they're per editor, remember. So they will, if you're in the outliner and you assign a specific thing to the outliner, it will only work in the outliner and not in the viewport. That's the idea, that everything is independent. And I already answered 5. One more. I already answered this. Still needs press Alt to change multiple settings simultaneously. Yes, that hasn't changed. And I think I'm done for now. Will Eevee see more real-time features in the future? Yes, as much as real-time feature. Everything is real-time in Eevee. That's the idea. That's the future. So I need to stop this because otherwise the video is going to be way longer than an hour, and people see that it's longer than an hour, then they don't see it. I wouldn't do it. It's like watching a movie, but it's Blender development. It's fun. So it's let's do it again next week if you are around. So let me put myself in full screen. Let's bring on the music that always closes this amazing hour that we just had. Blender 2.8 alpha is out. Go download it. If you find crashes that close your Blender and you can reproduce those steps to get it to close again, please report the bug, because the more crashes that we can tackle, the more stable that Blender will be. After the beta it's released in more than 6 weeks, then all the regular bug tracker can be open for all the other bugs that will pop up. But let's give it first, let's make it stable. So that is it for this week. I had a great time. We talked about all kinds of things. I didn't get to go through all of the questions. I only managed to do half an hour of questions, but it was fantastic. I hope I managed to reply everything, or leave some in the questions below, and maybe we can all reply each other. I will see you again next. Oh wait, I'm gonna continue. The code quest is over, but I'm gonna continue making videos for the development channel. So I will probably see you there during the week, and otherwise I will see you again next week. If you're using headphones, remember that this show ends with the most epic of epicest music from video games, so watch out. This is the Gilly theme from Street Fighter. It goes with everything. Ciao.